you folks are going to put in some intakes inside your Sprinter, maybe you've ordered your remanufactured intakes from me, but whatever the case is, when you go to install these, it's extremely encompassing because generally you have a bunch of stuff over the top of the intakes, wiring looms, and etc. What I've done, and is an added bonus to folks that have ordered their remanufactured intakes from me, is I've came up with an installation kit that allows you from actually not breaking this almost $300 part if you get it from the dealership, and even on the internet it's about $150. I've made brackets, and I'm going to give you the sizes of them brackets. They are included with my remanufacturing kit, but it's going to be helpful for you folks, even if you got yours from Mercedes and you didn't buy them from poor old me that's broken poor over here. But anyways, you know that when you go to install these, this component right here, this little thing right here is extremely important because this allows material to travel from one intake to the other intake. And if this gets kittywampus during the installation, it's nothing but trouble because you can take these intakes in and out several times just to make sure this stays straight and seals up properly. The problem is taking them out, they generally have to be disassembled. Installation, they need to be totally assembled because it's difficult to get to the swirl motor clips and etc., etc. So what I've done is I've came up with a way so it takes off the pressure off of these plastic housings that are prone to break. And how I've done that is with very, very simple brackets. I just cut these ones out. The ones that I give with my kit are going to look a little bit better and a little bit more refined, but this is great for this portion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this together and I'm going to show you what it looks like assembled and why it's actually better. So as you can see with the brackets on there, my intake is assembled. You can still move this a little bit so you can get these up inside the front portion of your intake. And also, now that it's on the bench, you can turn it around, put your swirl motor in there, attach everything, and install the intakes. Once the intakes are inside the automobile and you're trying to line up the holes, line up one or two of the holes, loosen these bolts right here, and keep your swirl motor bolts loose in the three that are connecting it together. And you should be able to get everything to go together easily and simple with the addition of these brackets. The brackets are actually super simple to make. You make one bracket that's 145 millimeters long from end to end. Make one hole that's 8 millimeters, one hole that's 6 millimeters. And the reason we do that is so we have a little bit of play when we loosen up these brackets on here. Then on the other bracket, which is the front to the center bracket, you want to go 155 millimeters and 185. These don't have to be precise measurements. I mean, as you can tell, we have a little bit of overhang, and I don't even know if these brackets are actually 145 millimeters or if this one's 155 millimeters or 85 millimeters, whatever I said just a second ago, actually 185 millimeters. Doesn't really matter. It's a point of making the brackets so you can pick the whole intake up and move it around without worrying about that stupid thing coming totally apart and getting kittywampus inside there. Kittywampus, no good-o in this situation. Before I go to reassemble this and get it all ready to put inside the car, I personally like to put my arms on my intake valves, runner valves, before I put it all together. It would be extremely difficult for me to film me doing that with this all separated and picked up, but if you put the arms on, and I'm not saying installing the screws, before you put it together, it'll make it easier. You can put the arms in once it's assembled together like this as well. But you take a greater likelihood of having it disassembled and in two pieces, installing the arms on breaking your swirl motor than you do if you assemble it, then put the swirl motor in. Just a little tip for you folks. I know these intakes don't look exactly like your Sprinter intakes, but that's because these are out of the Jeep WK and they have their EGR valve on the back side of the cylinder head, but they are in function exactly the same. Now with that reassembled and you've got all the bolts in here and you got everything tight, you can slip it into its place. Now, just keep in mind that when you go to put this in here, you're more than likely, after it's installed and you think it's very close, you're going to have to loosen up all these bolts to be able to give things the ability to move a little bit. That's the reason that we put the 8mm on there, holes, so you have a little bit of wiggle room, but you're able to tighten it down, pick it up, and install it all in one shot. Here's another little tip, just in case you guys are worried about your elephant tube leaking oil down onto your swirl motor. Just take a soda can, pop can, cut it up, put it on the top of there, run it around the edges right there, and that'll allow that oil to dissipate off the top of there and not soak down inside your swirl motor, making it defective and making you have to remove these intakes once again. Okay, with everything in there and I've got everything loose, I've gonna start all of my screws before I tighten everything down. Then I can take out my installation brackets and everything will be good to go. Put it back together. I know having us remanufacture your intakes is the right move, and having these brackets certainly made your job a lot easier. Remember, if you purchase your intakes from me, my advice is always free, and I will certainly help you any way I possibly can. When you purchase from me, you help the rest of the world and our YouTube community here by allowing me to be able to continue making these great videos for you folks and figuring out super simple trick ways of doing different things. So remember that. God bless and have the best of days. Man, them things look sweet. I love them.